Anunnaki Homeworld by Jason M. Breshears. Read by Kevin Stevens, also known as Grendel Dark. Archive 7. Romanid Apocalypse Comet Group. It is a long-established fact that plagues follow the eclipses of the sun. Pliny, Natural History, Mining and Minerals. As the Anunnaki Homeworld traverses the inner system in 300 BC, a glacial mass in its train breaks up into comets, ice-encased asteroids, and huge to small gravel-sized stones that begin their own orbit in a 20-year train of debris free of Nibiru's gravitational hold. They do not maintain the velocity of Niburu, and exactly 108 years after entering its own solar orbit, the Romanid group enters a stable 136-year orbit after passing close by the Earth. Like a long snake traversing the ecliptic, Earth literally moves through the detritus train every year that this group is crossing the ecliptic plane. Called the Romanid Apocalypse Group because it was the Romans at these times that were an international power, and it was from their observations that astronomical records were left to us. 222 BC, 3673 AM. Train of 20 years begins. During the consulship of Gnaeus Domitius and Gaius Phineas, it is observed that two moons appeared in the sky, and our own moon, as recorded by Pliny. For objects to be equated with our moon denotes that these were small planetoids or moons once trailing Nibiru, or gigantic asteroids our world passed as we moved along the ecliptic around the sun at 1.3 million miles per hour. 217 BC, 3678 AM. This was during the Second Punic War between Rome and Carthage. So many earthquakes occurred throughout the world that 57 of them alone were felt at Rome. This was 5th year of the Romanid group. 215 BC, 3680 AM. During this year, in the Second Punic War, it was recorded to have rained blood. This had occurred at the Exodus over Egypt, and later again in the Trojan War, the ancestors of the Romans. As will be seen in this work, blood would fall from the sky again in the future, and beyond, into the apocalypse. 207 BC, 3688 AM. A famine kills myriads in China, lasting to 204 BC. King Shi Huangti of the Qin dynasty died, and the various provinces reverted back to anarchy and feudal struggles. The Irish annals record that their cattle died off in great numbers this year. In this famous year, the Romans in the Second Punic War defeated Carthaginian general Hannibal's brother, Hasdrubal, in the Battle of Metaurus. 206 BC, 3689 AM. Roman historian Livy wrote that in this year appeared two suns over Rome, their brightness hinting that they were comets with trailing debris trails pointing toward Earth and reflecting sunlight. 205 BC, 3690 AM. Roman historians recorded that stones fell from the sky. 204 BC, 3691 AM. Odd lights are reported in the night skies. Famine finally subsides in China. 136 years orbiting the sun. 86 BC, 3809 AM. Train of 20 years begins. In this year of the consulship of Lucius Valerius and Gaius Marius, an object like a giant blazing shield traversed across the sky from east to west, toward sunset, giving off sparks as it moved. If the object impacted, it did so too far away from Rome for news of the disaster to be reported. Many similar objects have been seen throughout history of things passing through the upper atmosphere, but never quite entering before disappearing back into space. 66 BC, 3829 AM. It appears the Earth only passed through the first and last years of this train of debris without encountering anything significant. In this year, during the consulship of Gnaeus Octavius and Gaius Scribonius, a strange star appeared moving in the heavens. A spark was seen to have come from the star, and the spark grew in size, approached the earth, until it was the same size as the moon. It appeared to be enshrouded in clouds, had an atmosphere, and then departed as if on fire. This was recorded by Pliny, and was noted also by the proconsul Silenus, 136 years orbiting the sun. 51 A.D., 3945 A.M., train of 20 years begins. At this time, during Claudius's consulship with Cornelius Ophitus, a strange sun appeared in the sky in addition to our own, according to Pliny. This was probably a disintegrating comet almost in transit. Tacitus wrote that in this year, repeated earthquakes afflicted Rome and the countryside. 53 A.D., 3947 A.M. Earthquakes afflicted Phrygia in Asia Minor. In this year, the people of Ilium petitioned Emperor Nero to exempt them from all public burdens solely on the fact that Rome descended from Troy, city of Ilium. Interestingly, it was during the Trojan War that earthquakes afflicted Phrygia. 56 A.D., 3950 A.M. Unusual lightning struck both the temples of Jupiter and Minerva in Rome. Under normal circumstances, this could be relegated as coincidence, but the following effects of the Romanid group dispels this, for the lightning is of an extraterrestrial nature. 58 A.D., 3952 A.M. In this, the 7th year of the passing of Earth through the train of Romanid debris, as the Roman army destroyed the city of Artaxata in Armenia, a divine portent occurred, according to Tacitus. While the sun shone brilliantly all around the walls, the area of the city itself was suddenly enveloped in a dark cloud with unearthly lightning flashes. Also, an ancient fig tree named Ruminalius, believed to have been planted in the days of Rome's first king, was already about 830 years old when it shriveled up and seemingly died. Its trunk withered and shoots died. But after a short while, the tree revived and grew fresh shoots. This was the same year the Apostle Paul was confined by the Roman governor Felix in Caesarea. 59 A.D., 3953 A.M. In this, the 8th year of the Romanid apocalypse comet group, the famous city of Laodicea was destroyed by an earthquake, and during the day, the sun darkened over Rome, according to Tacitus. All 14 districts of Rome were struck by a fierce lightning storm, one woman having been killed by a thunderbolt while in her husband's arms. The Romans recorded the appearance of a comet about the same time that a flash of lightning struck and broke the table Nero was eating at in his mansion at Sublaquium. 62 A.D., 3956 A.M. A violent earthquake damaged buildings at the luxury cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum near Mount Vesuvius in Italy on February 5th. 63 A.D., 3957 A.M. Lightning struck the Gymnasium in Rome, burning it down, melting a large bronze statue of Nero into a shapeless mass. 64 A.D., 3958 A.M. In this year, lightning struck a 120-foot high portrait of Nero, the largest painting ever. The portrait was on linen and immediately burnt up in the gardens of Maius. A comet was recorded at year's closing along with an unprecedented display of lightning, accompanied with abnormal birth defects. The city of Rome, seat of the empire, burned for 7 days. While many believe Nero intentionally set the fires, the evidence suggests that the fires were ignited from extraterrestrial sources, lightning, or incendiary fallout, and Nero's gross negligence in organizing an effort to staunch the raging fires was probably because he had a dream to rebuild Rome according to his own specifications. Tacitus writes that after the fire, the general rumor among the people was that Nero was witnessed singing a hymn of the fall of Troy as the city burned. This was the 108th year since the start of the Roman Julian calendar. 65 AD, 39:59 AM. Earthquake in Ireland sank the entire region of the coast and hinterland into the sea, according to Girgaldus Cambrensis. 66 AD, 3960 AM. Flavius Josephus wrote that a comet appeared. The city of Rome itself was decimated by a plague, filling the houses with corpses. Judea began to riot and rebel against Rome, and even succeeded in killing an entire legion under General Cestius Gallus, initiating the Jewish War. It is Josephus who led the Jews against the Romans. Josephus's comet appeared like a sword, comet tail, as well as another object, perhaps asteroid. It was attended by an earthquake. 68 AD, 3962 AM. In this, the 17th year of the Romanid apocalypse comet group, an unusual occurrence of geological displacement transpired, recorded by Pliny. An entire Roman estate was completely turned around. In this year, the Senate declared Nero to be an enemy of the public and sentenced him to suffer a slave's death, to be whipped until dead, but he commits suicide instead. 69 AD, 3963 AM. Roman General Vespasian offered sacrifices upon Mount Carmel at an ancient altar site in Israel, Judea, mentioned by Tacitus. The local priests prophesied that Vespasian was destined for greatness, and astrologers confirmed this by noting strange omens in the heavens. In this same year, Vespasian became emperor of Rome, and his son, the general Titus, was appointed to put down the Jews. 70 AD, 3964 AM. Earth tremors shook the temple on the day of Pentecost, and voices loudly pronounced from the temple precinct, "Let us remove hence," striking terror into the hearts of those that heard this. Multitude of witnesses see what they believed are hosts of supernatural beings battling in the sky, with fiery weapons, and a strange cloud illuminates the temple. In this, the 1000th year since Israel and Judah separated into the two kingdoms in 931 BC, Jerusalem is totally destroyed by the Romans. Over 1 million Jews were killed in the 4-year war, and 97,000 more were sold into the slave markets. The fields were salted, and the temple treasury and library were sacked. The famous objects prominently displayed upon the Arch of Titus in Rome. This 20-year train will continue as a long chain of debris spanning 20 years. However, its orbital dynamics are altered. The original 136-year orbit is now 153.5 years. The Romanid group slowing down by a factor of 17.5 years as they orbit the Sun. 153.5 years orbiting the Sun. 204 AD, 4097 AM. No records for entire 20 years. 153.5 years orbiting the Sun. 358 AD, 4252 AM. The 20-year train begins. Terrible earthquakes shook the cities of Macedonia, Asia, Pontus, and the metropolis of Bithynia, Nicomedia, received the worst fate. At dawn on August 24th, the clear sky quickly gave way to thick masses of black clouds that descended to the ground, blotting out the sun and casting the whole region into blackness. Ammianus Marcellinus reports that the destruction began from the sky in the form of loud crashes, winds, fatal thunderbolts, and a torrential downpour. An earthquake accompanied all this. Just as fast as it had begun, the quaking ceased. The sky cleared, and a beautiful day was ruined by the visage of thousands of torn bodies, some still moaning among the piles of debris that once was a thriving city. Bodies of the dead and those still suffering were seen transfixed, impaled upon sharp timbers, while others could be heard screaming beneath the rubble. Many people were trapped in the lower basements and cellars, recesses under the city. A fire quickly spread through the ruins for 5 days and nights, killing off all the survivors who were unable to get out of the rubble. 359 AD, 42:53 AM. At the city of Antioch, the capital of Syria on the Orontes River, one of the 4 major cities of the Roman world, called the Jewel of the East. In a suburb known as Daphne, a child was born with 2 heads, a beard, and very small ears. The populace regarding these birth defects as the birth of a monster. This may have been caused by the influence of the Romanid group passing. 362 AD, 42:56 AM. In the 5th year of the passing of the Romanid group, on December 2nd, an earthquake finished off the city of Nicomedia, destroying what little remained or had been rebuilt after the terrible cataclysm of 358 AD. Much of Nicaea was also ruined, the 2 quakes being 52 months apart. 363 AD, 42:57 AM. Several comets were seen at the same time, some in broad daylight. Constantinople, ancient Byzantium, was shaken by an earthquake, and Julius Augustus witnessed a shooting star of unusual brilliance. The Etruscan diviners interpreted the omen as bad, using the authoritative Tarquitian books, last official consultation of the Sibylline prophecies, for anyone thinking to invade another's realm. Nonetheless, Julian later that year marched his army toward Persia with disastrous results to the army, resulting in his own death. But prior to this, in this same year, architects and agents of Julian arrive in Jerusalem with the intent of rebuilding the temple. But strange fire bursts burned the laborers to death, a phenomenon that happened a few times before the work was abandoned. 364 AD, 42:58 AM. A general madness seems to have blanketed mankind in this year. The entire world appears to be at war. Persia invaded Armenia, and German tribes invade many Roman provinces. The Alemanni ravaged Gaul and Raetia. The Sarmatians and Quadi were laying waste to Pannonia, and Britain suffered onslaughts from the Picts, Scots, Saxons, and the Atticati. Goths invaded Thrace and Moesia, while in the southern provinces of Africa, the Moors and Austriani were raiding Roman settlements and their allies. All the while, Romans were fighting each other. One wonders if this phenomena was not the direct result of the displeasure of the deity, for in this year, the Roman Church at the Council of Laodicea ordered that the Christian world would henceforth observe not the Sabbath, Saturday, but every week the first day of the cycle, violating the ancient 10 Commandments, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. 365 AD, 42:59 AM. On July 21st, an earthquake shook Alexandria, Egypt. This was in the 8th year of the Romanid apocalypse comet group. Roman historian Ammianus Marcellinus wrote that fierce lightning and thunder, which continued through the quaking, preceded the quake. The sea outside the port withdrew far away from the shore, and the inhabitants of the city found themselves far inland, looking out over an immense drying region of stranded fish and shelled creatures trapped in mud, vast valleys and mountains where sea had been before. As a great throng of people went out to gather the stranded sea animals, a tsunami came rushing back at hundreds of miles per hour, overtaking them. The wave and returning sea rushed up the coast and drowned the city of Alexandria, even depositing ships atop buildings. When the waters subsided and drained from the city and hinterlands, many people were pulled out to sea to never be seen again. Approximately 50,000 people died. In his History of the Later Roman Empire, Marcellinus relates that this disaster overwhelmed the whole world, surpassing anything related either in legend or authentic history, his opinion. He wrote that the quake was felt from Egypt into the Aegean, and that towns and buildings on coasts were destroyed, when the sea was removed from its bed. Even in the Aegean, the returning sea deposited vessels far inland, some still holding their dead crews. Near Mothone, in the Peloponnesus, he personally surveyed such a wrecked ship. Marcellinus wrote that the whole face of the earth was changed by a mad conflict of the elements. The lightning storm before and during the quake demonstrates the unusualness of this disaster. 368 AD, 4262 AM. A comet appeared shining brighter than the sun, according to Cyrilius to Constantine. Constantine the Great Sun. This is the 11th year of the Romanid group. 375 AD, 4269 AM. In 18th year of the Earth passing through the Romanid group, several comets were seen blazing in the sky, according to Ammianus Marcellinus. The men of the day believed that these comets were warning Rome of impending dangers. And, as history revealed, the Huns invaded the following year and forever changed the demographics of Europe. As with the other comet groups, the Romanid train disappears from history only in that its orbital chronology seems to end. The debris does not vanish, however. As we will review later in this work, in the past few centuries from about the mid-16th century until now, there is a tremendous amount of icy and rocky objects orbiting the sun that are so numerous and thoroughly ignored by scientists that no distinguishable patterns can be detected. The larger groups stemming from Niburu are definable, but as time and entropy take their toll, the refuse left behind by these groups literally fills the inner system.